Philippines, a tropical paradise with over 7,000 islands. But could this nation be mentioned in the Bible? Could ancient prophecies have spoken of this land thousands of years ago? The answer may surprise you. A nation called by God. The Philippines is a vast archipelago in Southeast Asia. But what if this group of islands was part of God's divine plan all along? Let's go back to ancient times, to the era of prophets and revelations. Isaiah 42:10 says, "Sing to the Lord a new song, his praise from the ends of the earth." But what does ends of the earth mean? To the ancient Israelites, it wasn't just about distance. It symbolized a remote, unknown place where God's name had yet to be proclaimed. If you look at a modern map, the Philippines is one of the farthest nations from the Middle East. Could this prophecy have been referring to these islands? The Bible often mentions islands as distant lands, untouched by God's light. Before Spanish missionaries arrived in the 1500s, Christianity had never been heard in the Philippines. This aligns with Isaiah 66:19, "To the distant islands that have not heard of my fame or seen my glory." When the gospel finally reached these shores, faith took deep root. Today, the Philippines is one of the most Christian nations in the world. Coincidence or divine destiny? The prophecies in the Philippines. Isaiah 49 verse 6 speaks of a light reaching the ends of the earth. Could this light have been the gospel reaching the Philippines? Another verse, Isaiah 60:9 states, "Surely the islands look to me. In the lead are the ships of Tarshish." Historically, the Philippines has been a key center for trade, with merchants from faraway lands coming in search of gold, spices, and pearls. Some scholars believe that Tarshish, a wealthy and distant land mentioned in the Bible, could represent places like the Philippines. The connection between ancient trade and biblical prophecy is fascinating. A nation of missionaries. The Spanish missionaries may have brought Christianity, but the Filipino people embraced it like no other. Today, the Philippines is the largest Christian nation in Asia, and its people carry the gospel across the world. Filipino workers in the Middle East, where openly practicing Christianity can be challenging, continue to spread their faith, becoming modern-day missionaries. Could this be the fulfillment of Revelation 7:9? A great multitude that no one could count, from every nation, tribe, people, and language. The Philippines, with its deep faith, could indeed be playing a key role in God's grand design. More than just coincidence. Faith is deeply woven into Filipino culture. From massive religious festivals to the passion in worship, Christianity is an inseparable part of life. This is more than history, it's a divine narrative unfolding before our eyes. So, is the Philippines truly named in the Bible? The answer remains a mystery, but one thing is certain. This nation is playing a powerful role in spreading faith across the world. Could it all just be coincidence? Or is the Philippines fulfilling a prophecy written thousands of years ago? The mystery is ours to explore. In biblical times, islands weren't just places on a map. They symbolized lands beyond the reach of the ancient Jewish world. The Philippines, a vast archipelago rich in gold, pearls, and spices, fits this description well. Some believe it could even be linked to Tarshish, a wealthy and distant land mentioned in the Bible. But beyond material wealth, the Philippines holds something even greater: faith. Isaiah 66:19 speaks of distant islands that have not heard of my fame or seen my glory. Before Spanish missionaries arrived in the 16th century, the people of the Philippines followed indigenous religions, worshiping nature and local deities. But when the gospel was introduced, the nation transformed. Christianity took root so deeply that today, the Philippines is the largest Christian nation in Asia, home to millions of believers and world-famous churches. The San Agustin Church, the oldest in the country, stands as a symbol of this transformation, while places like Quiapo Church draw millions of worshipers every year. But the story doesn't stop there. The Philippines is no longer just a receiver of the gospel, it has become a messenger. Filipinos have carried their faith across the world, from the Middle East to Europe to the Americas, becoming modern-day missionaries in places where Christianity struggles to thrive. Could this be part of a divine plan? A nation once in darkness, now shining as a light to the world? The Bible is filled with prophecies that speak of distant lands singing a new song to God. Isaiah 42:10 says, "Sing to the Lord a new song, his praise from the ends of the earth, you who go down to the sea, and all that is in it, you islands and all who live in them. The Philippines, a nation of islands and seafarers, could very well be part of this vision, a place once unknown to God, now lifting its voice in praise. Ezekiel 27:5 also speaks of islands trading precious goods, a reminder of how the Philippines was once a major hub for traders seeking gold, spices, and pearls. But beyond material wealth, the greatest gift it has offered is its faith, a faith that has endured colonization, war, and hardship, yet remains unshaken. Revelation 21:24 describes a future where the nations will walk by its light. The Philippines, with its deeply rooted Christian traditions, may play a role in this grand divine picture. Festivals like Sinulog and the Black Nazarene Feast are not just cultural events, but powerful expressions of devotion, drawing millions in worship. Jeremiah 31:10 declares, "Hear the word of the Lord, you nations. Proclaim it in distant coastlands." Today, the Philippines is more than just an island nation. It is a beacon of faith. Wherever Filipinos go, they carry the light of the gospel with them, spreading God's word in places where hope is needed most. So is all of this coincidence? Or is it part of something much bigger? Could the Philippines be a fulfillment of biblical prophecy, a nation chosen to shine God's light across the world? The answer is yet to be fully uncovered, but one thing is clear. The faith of this island nation is no accident. It is alive, powerful, and perhaps divinely appointed. The story isn't over yet. Prophecies, when viewed through the history and culture of the Philippines, reveal something remarkable, an unfolding mystery that suggests a greater purpose for this nation in God's redemptive plan. Could the Philippines be divinely positioned for something bigger? A nation chosen for a mission. Nestled in the heart of Southeast Asia, the Philippines stands as one of the largest Christian nations in the world. But it's not just another Christian country. What sets the Philippines apart is not just how it received the gospel, but how it has carried that faith beyond its shores. Christianity was first introduced to the Philippines in the 16th century by Spanish missionaries. Unlike in other parts of the world where Western religions were met with resistance or confined to certain social classes, the faith took deep root in Filipino communities. It wasn't something imposed, it became part of who they were. Over time, it transformed from being a foreign belief to a faith so deeply internalized that it shaped the very identity of the people. But what makes the Philippines' spiritual journey even more extraordinary is what has happened in recent history. While many nations have seen a decline in faith, the Philippines continues to thrive spiritually. Even more striking is how Filipinos have become one of the largest forces in global evangelism, without even realizing it. Filipinos, as messengers of the gospel, millions of Filipinos have left their homeland, not as formal missionaries, but as workers seeking better opportunities abroad. Yet in a way only God could orchestrate, they have become carriers of faith, bringing the gospel into places where it is restricted or even forbidden. Consider this. In Middle Eastern countries where Christianity is heavily controlled, Filipinos working as nurses, engineers, domestic workers, and laborers have quietly formed prayer groups, Bible studies, and underground fellowships. Even in closed societies where churches are banned, the faith of Filipinos cannot be silenced. They live out their belief through kindness, perseverance, and quiet acts of worship, making them living testimonies of God's love. When Jesus commanded in Matthew 28:19-20, "Go and make disciples of all nations," he was speaking to all believers. But what if the Philippines has, by its very nature, become a nation that fulfills this call? Unlike powerful missionary-sending countries, the Philippines spreads the gospel not through wealth or influence, but through the everyday lives of its people, through their unwavering faith in the face of adversity. Faith that transforms beyond their global impact. Filipinos have also preserved a unique and passionate expression of faith within their own country. This is seen in religious celebrations like Sinulog, honoring the Santo Niño, Child Jesus, and the Feast of the Black Nazarene, where millions of believers gather in devotion. These are not just cultural events. They are powerful displays of faith, where people walk for miles, barefoot, just to touch an image of Christ, believing in his presence and miracles. Unlike many modern societies where faith is becoming an afterthought, The Philippines stands as a place where belief in God is vibrant and alive. Christianity in the Philippines isn't just about attending church. It is deeply woven into daily life, shaping the values, traditions, and actions of its people. And perhaps this is why the Bible's references to distant islands and nations putting their hope in God seem to describe the Philippines so well. In Isaiah 69 it says, "Surely the islands look to me. In the lead are the ships of Tarshish, bringing your children from afar with their silver and gold, to the honor of the Lord your God, the Holy One of Israel, for he has endowed you with splendor." Could this prophecy be connected to the Philippines? While the country is never mentioned by name, it is undeniable that this archipelago nation has been uniquely used by God. A divine plan unfolding. This brings us to an important question. Is the Philippines simply a Christian country, or is it playing a deeper role in God's plan? Throughout history, God has chosen unexpected nations and people to accomplish his work. He used small nations to challenge great empires, humble individuals to speak to kings, and the weak to confound the strong. The Philippines, though not a global superpower, has become a spiritual force unlike any other. It has moved beyond being a nation that simply receives the gospel. It has become one that carries the gospel. The prayer communities in Islamic countries, the underground churches formed by Filipino workers, and the passionate faith that remains unshaken despite hardships. These are signs that God is using this nation in a way that no human plan could have orchestrated. It is not a government initiative or a church-led mission. It is a movement of everyday believers carrying out their faith in ordinary but powerful ways. The story is still being written. Perhaps one of the most powerful biblical connections comes from Revelation 7:9, which describes the vision of heaven. "After this I looked, and there before me was a great multitude that no one could count, from every nation, tribe, people, and language, standing before the throne and before the Lamb." The Philippines is not just a country in history, it is a nation that is still shaping the spiritual landscape of the world today. The faith of its people reaches beyond its borders, beyond restrictions, beyond fear. It is a living testimony that God does not only work through the rich, the powerful, or the influential, he works through the faithful. So, is the Philippines truly part of God's grand design? The answer may not be written in black and white, but the evidence is all around us. This story, this mystery, is still unfolding. And perhaps the Philippines' greatest role in God's plan is yet to come. The idea that the Philippines has a special role in God's redemptive plan is both fascinating and inspiring. While the Bible does not directly name the Philippines, does that mean it isn't part of something greater? After all, God's work is not bound by geography. He moves through nations and individuals who are willing to serve him. For centuries, the Philippines has been a nation of deep faith. Churches rise in every town, prayers are spoken in homes, and devotion is woven into the daily lives of millions. But more than just believing, Filipinos have carried their faith beyond their borders. From missionaries spreading the gospel in distant lands to ordinary people living as examples of Christ's love, the Philippines has become a light reaching places once thought unreachable. Could this be the fulfillment of Isaiah's prophecy about a new song being sung from distant lands? Is it possible that the Philippines is playing a role in something far greater than itself? Yet beyond prophecy and scripture, there is something even more important to consider. The real question is not just whether the Philippines is directly mentioned in the Bible, but what its story represents. Could the rise of faith in the nation be a reminder that God calls anyone, anywhere, to be part of his plan? The Philippines is living proof that no place is too far, no people too small, and no nation too distant for God to use. But this is not just the Philippines story, it is also yours. Like this nation, you too are called to be part of something bigger than yourself. Whether through acts of kindness, sharing your faith, or simply living in a way that reflects God's love, you have a role in his grand design. So what do you think? Is the Philippines uniquely chosen, or is this a message for all of us? That anyone, anywhere, can be used by God to bring light to the world? The story isn't over yet, and you are part of it. Share your thoughts and don't forget to hit subscribe as we continue uncovering the mysteries of faith and prophecy.